All right, so we're diving into some fascinating stuff today. You gave me this material on Prophet Musa, or Moses, as some folks might know him, from an Islamic
It
perspective.
should be a good one.
It's really amazing, how much his story pops up in the Quran,
Right.
which I guess shows how important he is in Islam.
That's right.
And we're gonna kind of go through some of the big events, the important teachings
Hmm.
from his life, all according to Islamic tradition. So we're talking prophecies, we're talking daring escapes, we're talking parting of the Red Sea, the whole shebang.
We're going beyond just the stories themselves, though. I think that's what's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, what do these stories tell us? What can we learn from them?
Yeah, I'm already hooked. So where do we even start with all this?
Well, I think his story really starts with, like, this dramatic irony. It really sets the stage for his whole life.
Okay.
So imagine this. Musa is raised by the very Pharaoh who ordered, like, the death of all the Israelite baby boys.
Whoa, whoa, hold on. How is that even possible?
Well, it all comes down to this prophecy, right?
Right. Okay.
Pharaoh was terrified because of this prophecy. He was scared that a child from the Israelites would, rise up against him.
Hmm.
So what does he do? He orders the death of all newborn Israelite boys.
I mean, that's brutal.
Oh, absolutely, a terrible act. But Musa's mother, think about this. She puts him in a basket, sends him down the Nile River,
Oh,
trusting in Allah's protection.
that's a serious leap of faith.
Absolutely, a leap of faith.
So did somebody find him?
They did, and it was, get this, it was the Pharaoh's own wife, Azia.
Ah, no way.
She was drawn to the baby and, decides to raise him herself, no idea who he really is.
That's unbelievable. So he's growing up, in the lap of luxury, totally oblivious to his heritage, and he's actually destined to confront this pharaoh. I mean, it makes you think, how did that even shape him?
Yeah, it's a good question, right? Like, how did being raised by the very power structure he's destined to challenge, how did that change his worldview?
Right, exactly.
But there's this turning point, the thing that really put him on the path he was meant for. It happened outside the palace walls.
Okay.
So he sees this Egyptian guard mistreating an Israelite. He just can't stand by and watch, so he steps in.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think, even if he didn't fully get his connection to the Israelites yet, he must have felt some responsibility.
Oh, for sure. That sense of justice, that compassion, that drove him to act.
Yeah.
But sadly, the guard dies during this intervention. Totally an accident.
Oh, man.
But now Musa is forced to flee Egypt. He's on the run.
Wow. So from a life of privilege to, running for his life, it really seems like that incident, that confrontation with injustice, that's what really pushed him towards his destiny.
It's a total transition from comfort to hardship. And, this is where he has to grow. He's going to do some soul searching. And this all happens in the land of Midian.
Okay.
And there he meets Prophet Shuaib.
Okay.
Shuaib takes him in, gives him work, and eventually even offers him his daughter's hand in marriage.
Oh.
Yeah, so years pass.
Yeah.
Musa builds a new life for himself.
So is this where he gets his divine calling?
Not quite yet. That
Yeah.
comes later. And it happens in a pretty dramatic way, I gotta say.
Okay, I'm listening.
Picture this. Musa's out there, tending to his flock near Mount Tur.
Hmm.
He spots a fire in the distance.
Okay.
But it's not just any fire. It's a burning bush that can talk.
A talking burning bush. Come on, that sounds like a movie or something.
Yeah, it's an amazing scene, packed with symbolism.
Oh, I bet.
And the Quran describes this moment. It's in Surah Taha.
Okay.
And this is where Allah reveals himself to Musa
Wow.
and calls upon him.
Do you happen to have those verses handy? I'd love to hear what it says, word for word.
Oh, yeah, for sure, Allah says. When he came to it, he was called, O Musa, indeed I am your Lord, so remove your sandals. Indeed, you are in the sacred valley of Tuwa, and I have chosen you, so listen to what is revealed to you. Indeed, I am Allah. There is no deity except me, so worship me and establish prayer for my remembrance.
I mean, there's just so much there, The divine call, taking off his sandals, that means it's sacred ground. And then just straight up saying there's only one God, that's powerful.
Yeah.
But how did Musa even react to this? I mean, that's got to be a lot to take in, right?
Well, his first reaction, it's pretty relatable, He's hesitant, like, am I really up for this?
Yeah.
It's a huge task.
I can imagine.
But Allah, knowing how he's feeling, gives him not one, but two miracles.
Okay, now we're talking miracles. Let's hear about these miracles.
So we're not talking some cheap tricks here.
Mhm.
This is divine power on full display.
Okay.
His staff turns into a snake.
Huh.
and then his hand, glowing with like this otherworldly light. And these were just for show. They were meant to prove he was a prophet, to challenge the Pharaoh's authority, like at its core.
I mean, that's bold. To go up against a ruler who claims to be a god and just throw down these miracles, I bet the Pharaoh wasn't exactly thrilled about this.
Oh, not at all. This was a direct threat to his power,
Yeah.
to his claim that he was a god himself.
Right.
But before we get into that whole clash, we get into something important. Musa wasn't alone in this.
Oh, right.
He had his brother, Harun, or Aaron as some might know him, right there with him.
Okay, yeah. So what did Harun do?
Well, he was Musa's spokesperson. You got to think about it. You go back to Egypt after years of being gone. You got these miracles. You got this message that's like turned their whole world upside down.
Yeah, that's not easy.
No, not at all. So Harun, he was a smooth talker. He knew how to connect with people. So he played a crucial role in actually getting this message across to the Pharaoh and all the people.
So they head back to Egypt together, ready to face the Pharaoh. I can't even imagine how tense that must have been. So Musa and Harun are back, facing the Pharaoh. How did that even go down? Did those miracles make any difference to the Pharaoh?
Well, at first, he reacts pretty much how you'd expect. Calls it sorcery, says they're just trying to grab power, discredit Musa, like he's trying to hold on to his power, And to prove his point, he actually calls on his best magicians.
Oh, wow. So it's like a magic duel, like a battle of who's got more power.
Kinda, yeah.
So what happened when they went up against Musa?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The magicians see Musa's staff turn into a snake.
Right.
They see that radiant hand, and they know. They know it's not just tricks.
Right.
This is the power of Allah.
So what'd they do? Did they try to, compete? Top Musa's miracles?
You know what they did? They threw down their staffs, their ropes, all their magic stuff,
Yeah.
and declared their belief in Musa's God, right there in front of the Pharaoh.
Wow, that's a huge turning point to have the Pharaoh's own guys, his advisors go against him like that publicly. What did he do?
I mean, furious doesn't even begin to describe it. Think about it, right? He's humiliated. His whole authority is crumbling. People are doubting he's a god.
Yeah, that's gotta hurt. So what'd he do? I mean, he didn't just give up, right?
Nope. He doubled down. He made things even worse for the Israelites. Tried to regain control, but, by force. But that just made his defiance against the law even stronger.
Okay.
And then you know what happens? Plagues start hitting Egypt.
Oh, yeah, the plagues. Everybody knows about the plagues, right?
It's a big part of the story.
I mean, were they just random punishments? Or was there a reason for each one?
Oh, no. Each plague was a direct response to something the Pharaoh did, something he said.
Okay.
Think about it. The Nile turning into blood. That challenges his claim to be a god, because the river was life for them, a symbol of his power.
Oh, that's interesting. So each plague had a meaning, a message to the Pharaoh. So did any of them work? Did he ever, rethink things?
With each plague, he had a chance to change, to acknowledge Allah. But his heart was hardened. He was too proud, too focused on power.
Yeah.
And that's what led to the Exodus, the escape.
Yeah, this is the moment everything builds up to. So set the scene for us. How'd they get out of Egypt?
Okay, so imagine this. It's nighttime. Musa, following Allah's guidance, leads the Israelites out. They're running for their lives. Generations of slavery, and they're finally free.
That's a powerful image. Escaping a tyrant, going into the unknown. I mean, did the Pharaoh just let them go?
Are you kidding? No way. He wasn't letting them go that easy. He was enraged.
Right.
He wanted to crush them. So he rounds up his army, his chariots, his warriors, and he goes after them.
Man, this is intense. So this all ends at the Red Sea, right?
Exactly. They've escaped Egypt, but now they're trapped. Huge sea in front of them. The Egyptian army is closing in. It's like there's no way out.
It's the ultimate test of faith. Do they give up or hold on to hope?
And it's when things seem their bleakest that faith wins. Musa, trusting in Allah, raises his staff, strikes the water, and what happens next is just mind-blowing.
The Red Sea splits. I mean, come on. That's the most iconic image ever.
Yeah, it's more than just a cool visual,
Right.
It shows Allah's power over everything. It shows how he intervenes, how he protects those who believe. Imagine standing there, right? Dry seabed, these huge walls of water on each side, a path where there shouldn't be one. It's got to be both terrifying and awe-inspiring.
Yeah, it's their liberation freedom from the Pharaoh. But what about him? What about his army? Did they see this and, like, turn around?
Nope. The Pharaoh was blinded by rage. All he wanted was revenge. So he charges right in, leads his army onto that seabed, right into the parted waters.
So they're literally walking through the sea, chasing the Israelites. That's wild. What happens when the Israelites reach the other side?
Well, they make it across, safe and sound, and then Allah gives the command, the sea crashes back together, swallows up Pharaoh and his entire army.
It's like this image of divine justice, right? Like, no matter how powerful you think you are, you're nothing compared to Allah. So the Israelites are free. They've seen these amazing miracles. But did things get easier for them, for Musa? I mean, it's amazing, right? They escape from like generations of slavery, and they see this incredible display of power. You'd think, like, freedom. That's it, right? Things get easier. Did they, for them, for Musa, after this?
Well, they escaped physically,
Right.
but
Yeah.
but that's just the beginning. It's like a whole new set of challenges. Their journey wasn't just about getting out of Egypt. It's about building a whole new identity, a whole new way of life.
So the escape is just step one. What kind of stuff did they run into, after they crossed the sea?
Think about it. Leading these people, they've only ever known servitude, and now, boom, they're free. It's a lot.
Yeah.
They're vulnerable. Their faith is tested constantly. They doubt. They're scared. Some of them even miss the life they had before. Crazy. But they miss that sense of security, even if it was like a bad situation.
Yeah, I get it. Escaping a tyrant is one thing, but building a whole new life, a new society, that's a whole different ballgame. So what did Musa do? I mean, how did he help them through this?
Musa.
Mm-hmm.
He was key during this time. He wasn't just a prophet delivering messages. He was like a guide, a teacher, leading them through the unknown. He dealt with their anxiety, their rebellions, their doubts, all while, following Allah's commands.
Man, that's a lot to handle. Speaking of Allah's commands, this is when he gets the Torah on Mount Sinai, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a big moment, not just historically, but symbolically. It's about the covenant between Allah and the Israelites.
So can you talk about the Torah's place in Islamic tradition? Like, how's it different from, say, Christianity or Judaism?
Well, in Islam, the Torah is a divine scripture.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the Quran was revealed to Muhammad, the Torah was revealed to Musa.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe in the original Torah's, divine origin.
Mm-hmm.
But it was meant for the Israelites, for their guidance specifically. The Quran, it came later, and it confirms and clarifies the original message. And it gives guidance for all of humanity.
That makes sense. So the Torah helped shape their laws, their beliefs, their whole way of life. But, putting all that into practice with people who were just freed after years of oppression, I can't imagine that was easy.
Oh, definitely not. Even with those incredible miracles, they still struggled. They questioned Musa. They wanted to go back to their old life. And get this, while Musa was on Mount Sinai getting the Torah, they built a golden calf and started worshiping it.
Wow, so their faith was really tested, huh? How did Musa even deal with all that? What kept him going?
Through it all, Musa's faith never wavered. He was so patient, so persistent. He never gave up on his people, even when they were frustrating him.
Yeah.
His belief in Allah, his commitment to his mission, that's what kept him going.
It's like the ultimate story of resilience, right? The strength you get from faith, never giving up. But, living in a totally different time, what can we learn from Musa's life?
Well, even though the historical and religious context is different, Musa's story, it touches on these universal themes, facing huge challenges, standing up for what's right, fighting for freedom internally and externally.
Yeah.
That resonates with everyone, everywhere.
And it's about having faith in something bigger than yourself, believing there's a reason for the struggles, whether you call it Allah or God or just, believing in good, that faith can get you through tough times.
Yeah, I like that. Ultimately, Musa's story is about finding strength in what you believe, pushing through challenges, trusting that even when you don't see the way, there's a light guiding you.
It's like you can see his story reflected in so many things happening today, like movements for social justice, the fight against tyranny, people all over the world just trying to be free and equal.
Totally. Liberation, justice, standing up against oppression, these are things that are always relevant everywhere. Fighting for civil rights, speaking up for those who don't have a voice, doing the right thing even when it's hard. We can all find inspiration in Musa's story, in his commitment to justice, in how he stood up to that tyrant.
It's a good reminder that we all have a part to play in making the world a better, fairer place. Even small actions matter. Sometimes just speaking up is an act of courage.
And it's those small acts of courage, those individual choices to do the right thing that create real change.
Well, this has been a really insightful look into Prophet Musa's life. We talked about history, theology, and, just the universal lessons that are still relevant today. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
There's always more to learn, more to discover. Musa's story, it's just one thread in the huge tapestry of Islamic tradition. There are so many stories, teachings, wisdom just waiting to be explored.
So, to our listeners, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with this. Think about Musa's journey, his struggles, his victories. What stands out to you? What can you take from his story and apply to your own life? What gives you the strength to face your own challenges?
Keep exploring, keep learning, keep looking for the stories that inspire you. You'll find your own strength, your own guidance along the way.
And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Stories like Musa's, they give us hope. They remind us that even when things are tough, courage, faith, perseverance, these can light the way forward.